I know what you're thinking. This box looks pretty banged up. I used to think I needed a reason to enjoy something as premium as this, but this box is not about the status. In fact, I got it for 20 euros at the time, which is a little bit more than $20. And even though I was studying and almost didn't have any money to buy it, thankfully I did. And even though it's not very logical, I keep it as a reminder to trust my instincts and to remind myself that joy doesn't need a purpose. If this sounds a bit confusing to you, I understand, but please make it until the end of the video so you can see the contents of this box and also hear out my story so you too can learn that joy doesn't need a purpose. So hear me out. Okay, so first let's address the issue with the case. So I bought this game in 2011, more than 10 years ago now, and yeah, you can see the box is pretty banged up. I live in a place with 90% humidity, sometimes during the winter especially. So yeah, this case is supposed to emulate the door of a car, and I think it's even painted with the paint of a car, of a SLS, AMG, Mercedes, special black paint. But I'm not sure if this is the same material of a door in a car. Probably not. Or if the quality of the paint is the same as the paint they would apply in the car. I would assume not, because as you can see there is, sorry about this, rust. But for me it's totally fine, because I don't want to sell it, even though it didn't come out in the US. The second thing is, yeah, the box itself. I play the game to this day on my PS3. I played it a lot, so it's always with me. And the book, the Apex book, it's a book I read a lot, and now my 4-year-old enjoys the book as well. He enjoys mostly the drawings and is always asking me what cars and tracks I like the most. But as you can see, it's also banged up. Doesn't have the cover anymore, and it's in Portuguese because I'm from Portugal. But going a bit through it, if you're new to racing or to cars, or if you want to get into sim racing, this is a good book to have and to read. Usually, especially in Gran Turismo 1, I remember in the manual they would give you some basics for tuning the cars, and you'd get a basic understanding of what you need. And this book, I think, is the most detailed version of what they wanted to achieve back then and could not. So at first it starts a little bit of the history of the automobile. I see the camera is picking up some reflexes, sorry about that. So this is about history of the automobile until the 2000s. Then you get the basics like tires, how do the tires work, how do you call it in English, what happens when you turn the wheel, and how do you say it in English, how much the wheel touches the ground, and the physics that the wheels imply on the floor. Sorry, there's probably some terminology for it in English. Now I'm reading in Portuguese, so the touch surface, the contact surface of the wheel, and yeah, some graphics explaining torque and power, and how the power of the car transfers to the wheels. You can see also the physics with braking in the front wheel and rear wheel drive, and how that affects the car. It also explains you how to approach the corners, and the basic of like what's the apex of a corner and how you should approach corners, how to reduce the G-forces when cornering. So all these fundamentals for racing and sim racing and driving. It's really good to know, and I think this book explains it very well. Like, even if you are not a pro, you're just a casual driver, just beginning, I think this is the book for you. I read it a lot of times, and yeah, like, and to this day, I think it's a good book for you to consult and get the basics. So, what happens with understeer and oversteer? What happens when you approach the corners with two speeds? How you should approach like the trajectories depending on the corner you do? How you should approach also the car when you don't have the automatic braking system on, and when the car starts drifting, and how to handle oversteer. You can see yeah, you can see a lot of information and some advanced techniques, steering techniques as well. So what else? ABS. Should you attack from the interior, from the exterior? How to use, how do you say, the cone of air? So when you, how to use the downforce of the air when you're close to a car in front of you. So the drag of the air and the resistance of the air is different, so you can actually pick up more speeds because the car in front of you cuts the air. Sorry, I'm explaining terribly in English because I'm reading at the same time and I'm doing the video and I have no script. So yeah, how to control the car in wet tracks, how to drive in gravel, and yeah, what happens when you don't have traction. And this is like a bit of the types of formulas, types of cars, what are they, DTMs, GTs, WTCC, Le Mans, Daytona, rally cars, NASCAR cars. So you have it all in Gran Turismo 5. They introduced some things like NASCAR, and this goes a little bit about mechanics, which you can use like to understand the tuning part of the game, the motors, what's a V motor, what's a cylinder motor, an inline motor. Hopefully I'm saying this correct in English. Rotary motive like the RX-7 and the Mazdas. Transmissions, admissions, cylinders. How about hybrid cars? Because they were new back then, and electric cars. How does a piston work? It seems. Again, how the transmission and how the car transfers power from the engine to the wheels. How the suspension works and differential works. So the cornering is different and the turning of the car is different when you have different types of components. The chassis and roll cages, the brakes, how does the car brake, and it explains you. And this is like real world knowledge that kind of translates into the game in a more accurate or less accurate way, but I would say Gran Turismo for a beginner is a pretty good starting point, if not because it's really fun at least, especially if you like RPGs. You get this kind of RPG leveling career mode, which is kind of cool, or at least I always liked it. So perforated discs, solid discs, ceramic discs. Yeah, this is the suspension and the springs, like how a shorter or higher suspension and stiffer springs affect the driving of the car and the feel of the car. And if you mess around in the game with, oops, my bad, with with these settings, you'll definitely see a difference in the way the car feels. So it's a good thing to know, and you can play around and test your knowledge in the game and see how that affects you. I'm not sure how realistic it would be and how it would translate to the real world, but at least if you hang out with racing friends, you'll get a grasp of what they're talking about. The rims, 3-piece, 2-piece, 1-piece, and like here's the aerodynamics and the downforce, how it works with the car, and the air resistance, and then talks about technology and the efficiency of the motors, conversion to electrics, and this is about the air filters, air compression, how to increase rotation, the parts of an engine, the ECU slash CPU, how reprogramming, how that works and affects the car to become more efficient and have more power, how the compression of the air and having more air in the engine causes more explosion and more power. What else? Yeah, rotary motors. So this has a bit of everything. Then it goes to how to improve braking, chassis, how the wheels affect the car. It also goes to talk about tracks and the tracks you have in the game, so you can see some data there about the corners and how the height of the game is, the height of the tracks. Each track has different heights, so you can see how that affects kind of the flow of the track. But yeah, this is one of the most cooler things about the box, I would say. One other cool thing is, of course, the photos. It has a photo book with the art of the game, which I feel it's pretty cool. Japanese cars, rest of the world cars, Switzerland, so based on actual places in the world. Something Gran Turismo also usually has. It's like a photo mode with replicas of real places in the world where you can shoot pictures with your cars of choice, and they look pretty good. I think even to today's standards the graphics are pretty decent, so that's nice. It comes with a USB. It looks like a key, and I think it also has pictures if I remember correctly. Looks pretty premium. Keychain, heavy, not gonna lie. Wallets, which I haven't used, but feels kinda plastic leather, not gonna lie. The leather doesn't seem very good quality, so that's why I did not use it, because I'm sure like the exterior would start to crumble. And just cardboard. It has the codes for the cars, because it came with some special cars, DLC cars, which I've downloaded at the time. Give you an advantage if you want, but the wallet looks pretty good. If you want to use it, you can use it. And this I want to give to my little guy, even though I know this Goes for at least $80, but I don't care. It's an AMG car, an orange one, and I think the case says GT is inspired in this car, if I remember correctly, but this one is orange, so maybe I'm confusing things. And looks pretty neat. I know it feels like blasphemy, but again, I much rather have the memories and pass down this to my kids. And he enjoys cars, so maybe I hope I can give this to him so he can play with it. You guys comment whatever you want in the comments, but for me, that's like there's no more bang for buck I could get for 20 euros. Like for $20, I played the heck out of this game. I'm making a video with all the memories. I read the book a lot and still do. And my kid gets to play with this car. So, yeah, it's good when you buy something and you use it a lot. And yeah. So, this is the unboxing basically. And yeah, if you want to hear more about why it's okay to enjoy things and it's okay to let my kid play with this and what was my life at the time, and yeah, hear my take on why joy doesn't need a purpose, stick around and hopefully you can learn something with me. If not, thank you for watching and see you next time. Peace. If you're still here watching this video, I want to thank you. Like, you're the real OG. Like I said, I bought this game in 2011. This game is still in my PS3, as you can see. I'm still playing it to this day. And it's a game I liked a lot because racing games for me were games I could play while listening to a podcast or music back then. Back then in my head, I would only play a game if I could multitask. My brain would never allow me to waste any time. So, video games, I grew up with my parents and older people around me saying video games was a waste of time, video games is a waste of time. And in my brain, like, I always felt the weight of video games being a waste of time. Like, my brain would always tell me I should be doing something better, and video games are not productive. I should be playing guitar or like doing some sports. I was always thinking like these musicians and athletes, like they always put so many hours into their craft. Like I shouldn't be playing video games, you know. So I could not allow myself to just play and that's it. Like I had to multitask. And racing games, it's one of the genres that did that for me. I was able to multitask. Not only that, the game has RPG elements, so my brain, maybe with a bit of ADHD, undiagnosed. Maybe it's because I'm a Gemini. I don't know, but like I always had to be doing more than one thing. Otherwise, it was not worth it for me. It's like capitalism and companies. Every year the chart needs to go higher. We need to produce more, do more, achieve more. And is it something like we really need? Can we just be content with what we have? Like it's not like I was never gonna be a pilot, like a race driver anyway. I didn't have the money, like so I was never gonna be a race driver. And yeah, to be honest, now, like, if I had just focused on playing GT5, I would have been like a much better driver than I am now. Um, I had to learn a lot of stuff later regarding sim racing and all of that. Yeah, all these years playing GT didn't really teach me because I was never focused. I was never focused. I was focusing on doing lots of things, but when you spread out like that, you never really focus on one thing, so you don't really get the results. And that's one thing, like we always achieve for more, more, and more, but the way to get results sometimes is to focus on one thing at a time. So I would probably have better results in other things in life too, because the rest of the time I had allocated to playing video games didn't rest me enough. For example, because I was multitasking. I went to bed stressed. I was always in a hurry. When I start doing some task at school or some work, I was always in a rush, like thinking about the next thing and when am I gonna finish this? And it kind of blew up on me to the point where I was in my 20s and I feel like I grew up without doing anything right. Like I felt like a loser, like I couldn't do anything proper, you know? I was always afraid that if I don't multitask, I would become a failure, but multitasking made me just that, like a failure. I grew up without being able to do a lot of things, to be honest. So don't be afraid of just doing things because that's what you're feeling like doing at that moment. In fact, life is better when things are not optimized, and not everything is meant to be engineered to the most efficient and most performing and more optimized, really. Like, the beauty in life is like in its entropy, you know, and in its not optimized things. Like, for example, let me kind of joke with you and explain to you in a weird way, maybe, but it's just kind of a joke. But imagine like you're having intercourse, right? And would you like it if you'd have to press a button at a certain time, specific time to climax? Or would it just be better to like enjoy it and not optimize it? Like, is this God of War? You have to press a button or something? Anyway, yeah, if doing something is a waste of time, so be it. Like, your mind needs rest, so you have more energy to be focused on the next thing. So see it as an investment. That's my tip. And yeah, allow yourself to enjoy the moment. Joy does not need a purpose. So, again, if you're still here, I hope you take this lesson with you. Thank you for watching. You're the real OG. Peace.